The boundaries which divide life from death are at best shadowy and vague. Who shall say where the one ends and where the other begins? Greetings, Poe fans. The Potastic 2 are back. I am Carmen Bolden.
And I am Jeanie Smith.
And we are here tonight to talk about Poe Places.
Yes. Oh, give
me a Poe where the raven will roam,
and the skies are dreary all day. Yes, we're a little nuts today. So excuse us. There's a lot of storms and everything coming around.
Yes, so if for some reason we do lose power, we will be back.
Yes. Hopefully it won't get that bad.
Yes. But anyway, back to Poe Places. And so this is the 6th degree, and it is our season finale of season 1.
Yes, of our podcast that we love that you've been involved with. It has been a wild and learning experience for both of us.
Yes, it has. And it's been absolutely fun.
Yes, and it's still growing, and we are still learning because we're venturing into many different things that we will talk about later in the episode, because now it is time to find the timeline of where did Poe go and where was he been.
Exactly. And we will know where Poe roamed and liked to go. I was trying to rhyme there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know that Poe was born in Boston, Massachusetts in 1809.
And fun fact, that was exactly the same year as President Abraham Lincoln was born.
Yes, and I believe Charles Dickens. No,
I think Dickens was a few years later.
Okay, yeah, I may have my dates wrong. Okay.
Might have been Charles Darwin.
That I think it's one of the Charles, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was Charles Darwin was born the same year.
Okay. And he had a brief stay there. He probably didn't even remember it because he was taken to Richmond, Virginia after his mother passed away in 1811.
Yeah, and his dad disappeared out of the picture a year after he was born anyway.
Exactly. So he had to have some place to live, and so that's when the Allens took him in. They didn't fully adopt him because that was his foster parents.
Right.
But then while living in Richmond, John Allen decided to move to England to try to make more money and become, his business more profitable and things like that. So in 1815, they moved to England.
Yeah, and the irony of whenever they were living in Virginia was around the years that the War of 1812 started.
Yes.
So they were living in that area. Thankfully, he wasn't living in Baltimore at that time, because that's when they burnt down the White House, and Dolly Madison saved the picture of Abraham Lincoln. Not Abraham Lincoln. George Washington.
Yes, George Washington. Yes.
Went back when Tom was talking about Abraham Lincoln.
You went time traveling, Jeanie.
I went to the future instead of the past there. Sorry.
Hey, that's okay.
But yeah, and he went to boarding school while in England.
Yes.
Which I thought was irony.
And then they moved back in 1820 back to Richmond, Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's kind of odd because you wouldn't think a lot about Richmond at that time period. However, Virginia being one of the first main British settlement colonies in Jamestown.
Commonwealth.
Yes. It actually was very stable during that time.
Mm-hmm.
The pilgrims that landed in Massachusetts and Boston, where he was born, actually wasn't supposed to land there. They had gotten a charter to go to Virginia and live in Virginia, where the Jamestown people were, with the Powhatan Indians.
Yes.
That was after the whole starving nation kind of thing, but they had, I think, and I would always tease my kids with this, I said, I always think they had Christopher Columbus as their navigator because they got lost.
that probably was correct.
Well, most of it was the weather blew them off course, and they just had to find a place because they were running out of food and all that wonderful jazz.
Yes. Well, and then and I was just looking this up while you were filling us in on that. Charles Dickens was 1812. He was a few years after. I was getting all of them
All them
mixed up.
Charleses that
Yes.
time. Yeah, because it was Darwin. That's why I always say that he was always attached by birth, because Darwin was always the natural selection type thing, and Poe was always interested in the science issues. So
Yes. Yeah, and Charles Darwin, it was actually February 12th, so
he was older.
let's say, no, he was a little bit younger because Poe was January.
Oh, that's right. That's right. January the 19th.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So a little bit younger. And
I was thinking of my birthday.
yeah.
I'm not that old. I feel that old, but I'm not that old.
Exactly.
So they moved back to Richmond.
Yes, they moved back to Richmond.
And we're back to Virginia.
Yes, and in 1826, Poe went to University of Virginia.
Yeah, for not even a year.
Yes, and he got kicked out.
Yeah. Sounds like my early years in college, except I didn't get kicked out. I just went to different places.
I just decided to actually work full-time and go to school part-time.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened to me. I started at college, and then I was like, nah, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah.
And then I took, I think, 6 months off and worked full-time, and then I started back in the fall, full-time job and full-time classes.
Yeah,
that was not fun.
Yeah, I did the full-time job, part-time school for between 8 and 9 years because I did take some time off at one point. So
Yeah, we have a lot in common. I think that's about how long it took me, too. 'Cause
Yeah.
I would have to take about a year or two off because I would get burnt out, and then I think I went through 11 different majors.
oh my goodness, I don't even know what I went through, but we do have that kind of in common with Poe. We didn't get kicked out, but
No,
obviously
thank God.
none of us were ready.
No, I mean college is a strange beast anyway.
Oh, it is. And then in 1827, he decided to join the Army, and he was stationed mainly in Fort Moultrie in South Carolina, which is right outside of Charleston. I can't remember. At one point, there is a place where he was at in Boston because Jeff and I went to visit the area. I'll look that up here in just a moment.
Yeah, and that's when he was under the name of Edgar A. Perry.
Yes.
He was
did.
not a Poe. He was
Exactly. And to tour Fort Moultrie is really, really cool. And actually on our Poe Places section tab on our website, I've got pictures and everything.
And it's really odd because most people, when they think of South Carolina, they automatically think of Fort Sumter.
Yes.
But there is so many different military strongholds. I'll say strongholds, but they're not really much of a stronghold. They're just basic training facilities like Fort Lejeune. You got Fort McMurtry, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's where my brother ended up when he came back from Germany.
Oh, wow. Okay. Fort Independence. That
Yes.
was, he was briefly there.
Irony. Independence, Boston.
Yes. It's
Well,
fitting.
Yeah, it is very fitting.
So after he was in the Army, he at one point decided that he wanted to really try to live up to, John Allen's
Expectations.
Yes. And so he asked him for help to try to get into West Point, and lo and behold, in 1830 he did.
Briefly.
And, yes, again briefly. And about a year later, this is kind of his, MO. He was kicked out.
Yep. He got court-martialed
Yes.
for his gambling and drinking issues.
Yes. And then he moved to Baltimore, Maryland.
Moved in with his aunt.
Yes.
Isn't that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Meddy.
That was Aunt Meddy, who was Virginia's mama.
Yes. And then in 1835, he moved back to Richmond, where he took a job at the Southern Literary Messenger.
And it's kind of weird because if you think about it, the man's only like 24 years old by this time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's very young.
And it's like, dude, come on, you got to pick something. University of Virginia, you crapped out.
Exactly.
Military, crapped out.
But, and it's so funny to look at, our generation kind of had the same expectations, but not as much. But back then, you had to be, by your late teens, early 20s, set up in whatever kind of job you were going to do.
Yeah, and the thing about it with Poe is in that time period, it was a time of reformation, especially when it come to education and prison reform and
Right.
juveniles and all that. And so that's when they were opening a lot more doors for the women,
Yes.
for men, for color, for religion.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was, yes, due to John Allen becoming rich from his uncle's estate, I believe.
John Allen's.
John
Yes.
Allen.
Mm-hmm.
What did I say?
Yeah, that's what you said.
Okay. For some reason,
Just
I thought
clarifying, it's John Allen, not Poe. Yeah.
I thought I said John Ellen there.
No,
a minute. I'm like,
no.
no, we're not talking about John. I don't even know who John Ellen is.
No, no Ellen here.
But anyway, it goes to show that there was difficulties all the way around in
Yes.
those expectations, no matter what your social, economic, what your color, your race. The Reformation was big, and it was really affecting the South because the problem was the Southerners, the rich Southerners, did not want to pay for schools for the poors or the blacks.
Exactly.
Didn't matter what color. If you're poor, black, white, yellow, green, purple, they
Right.
were not going to pay for you to go to school.
And this was a peak period for slavery also.
Yeah, and the expansion that was happening, that Manifest Destiny was starting, the annexation of Texas, the
Go
Alamo.
west, young man, go west.
Exactly. So there was all this that was happening with the Second Great Awakening, and so Poe was having a lot of issues to battle, not just his own demons,
Right.
so to speak.
Exactly.
And his expectations were to try to get John Allen to love him. And it wasn't working out because he couldn't make it work.
Right. And so he wanted to be accepted for who he was, the poet we know. However, he tried to become the mold of what John Allen wanted, which
And
would have
failed.
been a businessman. And yes, you can't be someone you're not.
Exactly. No matter how difficult and how hard you try, you can never be who you aren't supposed to be.
Exactly.
Poe tried, it failed. Poe
Yes.
tried, he failed.
Yes. And
Then by 1830,
37, he moves to New York.
again.
No, this is the first.
Well, West
Well,
Point.
technically West Point,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, because West Point's not that far outside of New York City.
No, not at all.
So, but yeah, he ended up back up in New York City to try, this time, his hand at writing again. Now, he did some writing while he was at West Point, entertained some of his friends that were
Right.
also cadets. And they said that once he left and he tried to write that book,
Exactly.
and they would throw it in the river, they were throwing the trash because it was just horrid to them.
Yes. Well, and his poetry, they didn't.
Yes.
They were like, what?
Yeah, this was not the Poe that they knew from West Point.
Right. And then let's see. So from 1837 to 1838, he was in New York. Then in 1838, he moved to Philadelphia.
Nice. The city of brotherly love.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, because it's ironic in some aspects, because most people don't understand why it's called the city of brotherly love. But that was where Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. It's where the Liberty Bell still stands today.
Absolutely.
That was Ben Franklin's backyard.
Yep.
And it was, it literally became a staple point for independence.
Yes.
And it, at one time, was actually one of the United States national capitals.
That's very true. That's very true.
As was New York.
Yes. New Amsterdam.
Yes, New Amsterdam.
So he did. He worked. He wrote in Philadelphia. One of my favorites, The Black Cat, was written in Philadelphia. And going down into the basement of his home, there's brick coming from, like taken out from the wall. And you can just feel the black cat peering at you. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, basements are creepy anyway.
Yes.
I mean, you add in Edgar Allan Poe, it's going to even make it worse.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, and also Philadelphia is where modern day his National Historical Site is located, which, ironically, is going to reopen April the 15th.
Yes, they had been closed down for things doing with COVID. And yes, because the National Park Service owns it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're in charge of it, and
if you get to go visit, you need to. It's the house and the little kind of garden area outside. It's really pretty.
Yeah, it reminds me of a lot when I look at the pictures. I haven't had the chance to actually go there yet. It's on my list of things.
Oh yes,
but it kind of reminds me of the area of Salem. Because it's got that historical aspects to it.
Yes,
the old architecture and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
If you're in that area and you want to drop us a line and give us some ideas of the area that you may have been and how you feel about it, feel free.
And very close to there's a couple of the most famous Philly cheese sandwich places. You have to steak. You can go from one corner to the other and test which ones you like the best.
That's going to be added to my list also.
And kind of a side note, just because we like reading and studying serial killer information.
We're that weird.
But the prison where H.H. Holmes was placed for a little while, the site is still there. It's, totally gone, but I went.
Yeah. I mean, hey, come on. Edgar Allan Poe and serial killer. I hate to say it, but it kind of fits.
It does. And let's see. So he was in Philadelphia for a little while. He stayed until 1844.
Didn't he get a job at a literary magazine at that point?
Yes. He's worked at several of them all through his career. And then moved to New York.
Men magazines too.
In 1844.
Moved back to New York, outside of New York, not actual New York City.
Yes.
Fordham.
Yes, and if you can take a chance to go visit the cottage where he and Virginia, that was her last place where she died, and Muddy lived. It's a very quaint little cottage. It was moved from the original site, but it's got some really neat things in the house, and Poe Park is right outside there.
Nice.
And it's very nice.
And wasn't this one of the reasons that they ended up going back to Fordham, New York, is because at this point Virginia had started suffering from pulmonary tuberculosis?
Yes, and so being out in the country, it's definitely not country now, but but back then, they felt like the open country air would help her. Absolutely. And so then he pretty much stayed in New York the rest of the time, except for traveling, that he did. And the last year of his life in 1849, it almost reads like he was, on a circuit tour.
Or on a vagabond with a train. Because the train was one of the biggest popular ways of traveling in that area and time. And so him hopping on and off and going to different places and trying to find himself. And at one point, I think it's also in there where he visited a Tempest Society for
Temperance, yes.
Temperance, not Tempest. That's Shakespeare. Sorry.
Yes.
Temperance Society, because he was trying to get himself sober.
Yes, he had kind of made a pledge to try to do that, and
because he was grief. I mean, grief was a big thing, and at this time also, wasn't it when he came back to Virginia that he ended up getting engaged
again? Yes. To his original love. Yes.
Can't remember her name.
Elmira Royster.
That's her.
Yes. So the last year of his life, so 1849, so his last known residence was New York. And then in 1849, in June, he leaves New York, goes to Philadelphia. Then in July, he goes to Richmond. September, he goes back to Philadelphia. Then he gets on a incorrect train. Apparently.
Because nobody that's still alive knows exactly what was in his mind.
Right. And then he ends up in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. In Baltimore, where unfortunately there's differing ideas and differing things about exactly what happened. Some people have pointed to that maybe Poe was suffering from some type of tumor and he got confused, he got lost, ended up in Baltimore. There's been, you could actually say that he probably was suffering from psoriasis of the liver and was, incoherent. And anyway, when he ended up in Baltimore, it was a time where they were having an election. And during that election, some rather not nice people were using his drunk state because apparently they were offering drinks. They were giving him a drink, and then they kept giving him drinks and then slinging him into the polling booth. Mm-hmm. He would vote.
Cooping.
Cooping. Come back out, give him more drink, throw him back into the polls. He was voting again until finally he just passed out into an alleyway and died.
Yes, and all of this is alleged because there's no real proof of what really happened. But they found him on October 3rd, and then when they took him to the hospital, and he died in Baltimore on October 7th, 1849.
Yeah, and the sad part is during that time period in the history, you can come away with differing ideas, and first-person accounts are not exactly the greatest in anyway. But at that time also, not many people were keeping records of Edgar Allan Poe because he was just another person.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was famous. People knew him, but he not near the notoriety that there is today.
No, it's not the same as you would know of some things today. I mean, today, Edgar Allan Poe has become such an icon.
Yes.
That if he suddenly popped up, and this would be freaky anyway, if he suddenly popped up in society, then he would become one of the major icons, maybe close to the way that Michael Jackson was revered.
I agree, yes.
But in a literary term instead of the musical world.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy, he just suffered, and I hate to say it, he probably suffered till the very end.
I think so, which is extremely tragic.
Mm-hmm. It is, but in itself, it's kind of what we've revered about him to this day,
because
his macabre.
Yeah, the writing that he did came out of his life experiences.
Yeah, and most people know, especially when it comes to artists, whether it be literature, whether it be, portrait painting, whether it be anything else, most of the time you don't make a staple onto anything until after it happens. Posthumously. Yes. After you die. I see, was it Van Gogh? I believe it was Van Gogh that only sold one painting in his lifetime.
Yep.
And that was not a couple years before he died.
Yes, and I think he only made maybe like $25 or something.
It wasn't very much.
Mm-hmm.
But then itself, now that he's gone, I mean, his art still to this day is selling for millions.
Yes.
But does he reap any of the rewards?
Nope, not at all.
Oh, well.
So, with this episode, just like our other episodes we've done for all the 6 degrees, we kind of wanted to do just a brief introduction of what we're going to be doing with each one. And so we're going to, in season 2 and beyond, we're going to focus heavily, almost like hyper-focus on specific things. So the next episodes that we'll do are going to all be based on the 6 degrees. But for instance, if we do a Poe Places for that degree, it may be we're going to say how Poe has influenced things in Tennessee or something of that nature.
It'll be very specified to a specific place and a specific thing. So we're going from mostly a general overbroad 6 degree type of montage into a very specific people, places, and things.
Yes,
for
within the
each
degree.
Yes.
Yep, exactly.
So that's all about what season 2 is going to
To
take
be.
place. And it probably won't come about until about August or September.
Yes,
So
which is
probably
about when we started this season.
So we'll keep it around that same time, and hopefully we will be better at posting, either
Yes.
every week or every 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
So we can be more on a time, because we have got a lot of irons in the fire,
Yes,
so to speak.
we do. Yes,
that
we
we're
do.
trying
But
to make happen.
Yes, but they're nice irons.
Yes, I'm excited about them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if we're going to get it all done, but
Yes.
we're going to give it a shot.
Absolutely.
Everyone knows that we've been doing the Poe Unplugged,
Mm-hmm.
which it started out as kind of like a book review type of thing,
Kind
or a
of,
literature
sort
circle.
of. Yeah, I'd say more literature circle.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that we all just sat around and we read the book. No, it was that we all came in with different ideas, different feelings, and we discussed
Yes.
our interpretations, not
Right.
only of the literature of what we were reading, the poem or whatever, but of Poe and of that time, of everything.
And kind of like, almost maybe some supposing and what ifs of,
Yeah.
what was in his head when he wrote certain things.
Yeah, a major discussion of what his psyche might have been going through.
Exactly. And so just so you know, because we would love for you to register, the next one is Monday, April 18th. We had to kind of change our format because Jeanie and I are taking a class together on
Tuesday nights.
Right, Tuesday nights. And so April 18th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, our next Poe Unplugged is going to be, if you register, we'll send you the Zoom link that day. And it's on...
It is on the pop culture of Edgar Allan Poe. And just a little, heads up about the time frame, since we say Central Standard Time, since it's 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, that means it's going to be 6 o'clock Eastern. That means it's going to be 8 o'clock Mountain and 9 o'clock Pacific.
Backwards.
What?
It's backwards.
I thought Mountain came before Pacific.
Mountain came... It's
Yeah, because Mountain...
Eastern. So Eastern will
Eastern?
be 8. Then Central 7.
Oh, I'm going backwards.
You're
instead
going
of the other ways.
backwards. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's easy to get confused.
Yeah, so because I used to live in the Eastern time zone. I think I should know this by now. Yes, so Eastern time, if it's 7 o'clock Central, it's 8 o'clock Eastern. Then it's 6 o'clock Mountain, and then 5 o'clock Pacific.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Well, hey, I'm backwards anyway. So
It's all good. It's all good.
anyway, so yeah, the pop culture that we're going to discuss about Edgar Allan Poe. It
Yes.
could be anything from the comics, the graphic novels.
Yeah.
that are coming out.
Bring your favorite Poe pop culture reference and, kind of tell us why you love it and what it means to you and just anything pop culture related to Poe.
Yeah, because mostly the Poe Unplugged is about getting everybody else excited about different things.
Right. And a good example of Poe pop culture would be, I always kind of go back to The Simpsons, their first Treehouse of Horror in season 1 was they did The Raven. And it's very cute.
Okay, don't hate me for this, but
It's okay.
I've never watched this. I've never watched an episode of Simpsons.
Oh, interesting.
I do
Yeah.
not like The Simpsons. I do not like who was it? Kenny. What's his name?
Oh, you mean South Park?
So all those I'm not a fan of, and never
That's
have
okay.
been.
That is totally okay.
I think it goes back because Beavis and Butthead ruined it.
Okay.
The first thing I ever watched was Beavis and Butthead, and I went, no.
Okay. And then, so that's our April Poe Unplugged. We haven't added the registration yet for our May one, but it's going to be May 16th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And this one is going to be sci-fi related, and we're going to add a link to the balloon hoax, and then we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, because that's one that not a lot of people probably have ever read.
Most likely not. Maybe some diehard Poe fans, definitely.
Oh, yeah. But for the most part, it's not something they teach in the schools, much less people talk about.
Right.
Most people talk about around the world in 80 days. But
True.
that's not Poe, and it's like, dude, they had to come from somewhere. So the balloon hoax would be great because it's got that sci-fi type of mentality to
exactly. And we talked about that in our sci-fi episode. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out.
On Spotify.
To Boldly Go. And, and really in school. Yeah, to Boldly Poe, sorry. And really in school, the sci-fi stories that Poe wrote are never taught.
No, because, well, if you look at it, science fiction is not exactly one of the major literature realisms or literature avenues that we have to teach. It's mostly about classic and any of the euphemisms or the grammatical things or themes.
But I think kids would really get into it.
I think so too. I mean, they love Flowers of Algernon and they love all the Outsiders and all that. So I'm like, dude, come on, throw in some sci-fi.
And really, Ray Bradbury is some of the main things that are taught.
Yeah, and I think the reason they do it is because it's more modern. It's 20th century.
Yeah.
I mean, most people think of Edgar Allan Poe and only think of The Raven and his poetry.
Yes. And so, all right. So, Jeannie, what else this summer have we got coming up in the video world?
Wow. Yes, we are venturing.
This is Jeannie's baby.
Yes, I'm trying to start that we are going to add in a YouTube and a TikTok. So we're going to add in some videos along with our audios.
Yes.
And I know Carmen, when she's visited a few places, she's done some interviews, both video and audio.
Yes.
So I am starting to tweak those things and going to be putting them on a YouTube video and our YouTube channel, which I haven't got yet. But we're going to call it Poe Unplugged, just like we do our normal thing. Because we'll also post our Zoom meetings.
Yes,
that we do for the Poe Unplugged with our discussions on there. The TikTok is just going to be one of those things. I'm kind of going to use it kind of like an advertisement. Little teasers here and there about things and reminders of where you can find us on all the wonderful social media. But it's also going to be Poe Unplugged.
Yes.
So that hopefully, knock on wood, is going to come about within the next couple months, probably by June. Probably after, because Carmen and I have got this plan for our short little trip in June that I'm going to hopefully add into our plethora. So when the YouTube channel goes live, it's probably going to go whee with a lot of different videos.
Yes, absolutely. And the trip that Jeannie's talking about is a Poe trip.
Yes.
And it's like searching for Poe or
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like the Lewis and Clark type of thing. Like the Oregon Trail, and we're going to call it the Poe Trail.
The Poe Trail.
The Poe Trail.
And so we're going to start out in
Newark, Delaware. Which is really odd because you wouldn't think that there would be anything Poe related in Newark, Delaware.
But we found something, and so we're going to go check it out.
We don't know if it's real or not, but it's kind of like one of those myths, so we have to go see.
Yes. Then after we leave there, we're going to head into
Baltimore.
And I have been to the Poe House and to his grave, and there's a lot. The library there has a Poe collection that we're going to get in touch with them to, because you have to make arrangements to see that. But we're going to do those kind of tours and things.
And then I'm going to give my version of what it is, since I'm going to be seeing it for the first time, unlike Carmen. I've been there several times. So it's going to be a first impression type of trip for me. And then we're going to round out our trip in Richmond.
Yes.
Which is kind of where Poe, I guess you could say, rounded out. Except for Baltimore is where he ended up dying.
Right.
But Richmond was his, last hurrah, we will say, because that's where he was engaged to, what's her name?
Elmira Royster.
That girl.
Yes.
I'm horrible at those names.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. And then we'll come back home. And so we're hoping to have lots of good video and audio of what we do there, and hopefully interview some people.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I will warn you now, you will probably get to see the more sarcastic and more outer level that I can be on
Oh,
video.
no, not you, Jeanie.
I know I am so not that person. Yeah, right. I know.
Well, and two of our other teacher friends are probably we're going to,
We're
nap
roping
them.
Yeah, we're napping them to go with us because.
Yes,
One of them is a
exactly.
history person like
yes,
me.
and she will love actually all this stuff.
Yeah, and the other person, she just likes to shop, but we're taking her with us anyway.
Exactly. It'll be fun.
She's comic relief. 'Cause
Yes,
she's
yes.
like my sibling, and we argue all the time. And then by the time we return to Tennessee, that's when on June the 4th, I believe,
from 1 to 7.
in the afternoon.
Yes, at the Capitol Theater in Lebanon, Tennessee, we are going to have a booth at Rotten Revival, and I have not been to Rotten Revival, but I went to their December fest, which was the Merry Mayhem, and it was great. They had some entertainment, they had food, they had all kinds of macabre. Everything is macabre. It's just,
come on, Rotten Revival.
Yes.
Just the name is just screaming Poe.
yes,
Yes. And in our booth, we are going to be showcasing our stickers, our bookmarks. I'm going to be putting together some cipher postcards,
Yes.
which they will be kind of like a raffle type form, to where if you solve the cipher, you can send in the postcard and they'll be added to a raffle.
Yes.
Not a rifle, a raffle. Sorry, my southern sneaking in there.
Yes, it is.
But yes, and we will have Carmen will have displayed some of her clothing that she and dresses that she's made.
I have some Poe dresses, and I'm also planning on making some Poe purses. We have added our Poe 6 Degrees of Poe logo onto fabric, and so it's really looking cool. We got that in just the other day.
Yes, and we will be posting these on our Etsy account that we have.
Yes,
so
and we have the stickers on our Etsy shop, but we also have them on our website. So please go check them out, and they are $2 a piece.
yes, and we were also going to. Well, basically, I was the sibling that I was telling you about.
Yes.
Who's a best friend that was more a sibling. She is an artist. She is a graduated fine artist. So I'm going to make her do some charcoal. She doesn't know this, or she keeps balking against it.
She
I don't care.
knows. She just, but
She
they
knows
really
she doesn't
fight
wanna-
like cats.
Exactly. So she's working on our caricatures that actually we're going to be posting on the website.
Yes.
But she's going to be doing some artwork, and we're going to have some of her artwork on display for people to see. And also we'll be posting it later on the website and Etsy so
Yes.
people can see it. But we're also going to be styling our t-shirts of the Potastic 2.
Yes, and we all also are going to try to make some T-shirts with our Poe logo.
So yeah, it's just one of those things that we're trying to get off the ground. We're trying to put a lot of our hobbies, our likes,
Yes.
and things that we really enjoy, other than just doing the podcast, and adding more to it.
Yes,
So that's what's coming up in the next few months, and
we're really, really excited about it.
yes, and hopefully, like I said, knock on wood, it'll all work out, it'll all come together, and we will start getting more following. I know we've got some other people that are helping to advertise for us that are getting involved, and we are putting together some more broad things. Like at the Hermitage, we spoke to some people that we may be doing some interviews there because of one of the one of the stories that Poe wrote.
Yes,
Dealt with
King Pest. Yes,
yeah, with Andrew Jackson, that most people don't realize.
yes, and then we have a connection to a professor at Union University, and he is a relative of Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, and his name is last name is Poe.
Yes, he is Dr. Poe.
Yes, he is Dr. Poe.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to that. So we've got a lot of things on the menu for the next few months of 2022.
Exactly.
And we hope we can get them all put together, and barring anything major happening, which we hope it doesn't, but
That's
with
right.
the weather that's going on, we don't know what comes up tomorrow, much less what will be in the next few months.
That's right. And so you can definitely find us on Facebook, The 6 Degrees of Edgar Allan Poe, on Twitter at 6 Degrees of Poe, and our website is www.6degreesofpoe.com. And again, please check out our shop on our website as well as our Etsy shop, which is the 6 Degrees of Poe.
Exactly. And we are so happy that you concluded the season 1 with us. And we
Yes.
hope you come back for season 2 because
It's only going to get better.
exactly. We're looking forward to a lot of different things. We're getting this off the ground, people.
Absolutely. All right.
So on that note, we will say
We are
Poe
out.
If you wish to forget anything on the spot, make a note that this thing is to be remembered